computer here. Oh, hey, everybody. This is Shar, and welcome. This is the Nurse to Entrepreneurs Facebook Live. Well, it's actually a Facebook record, but today I am here with a Barb. Oh my gosh, Barb, I just asked you how to pronounce your last name, and I'm going to screw it up. Picciani. Did I say it right?
Picciano.
Picciano. This is Barb Picciano. Barb is a wonderful person who's been working with nurse to entrepreneurs now for about 5 months. And really the goal today is just, I want you guys to meet some of the clients that we have. I want you to hear their stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and what it's like to truly open a business and the process that we go through. And Barb has been a superstar. Barb came into the program 5 months ago. And I'm going to let her tell her story and introduce herself. But I just need you guys to know that when you come into the program and you do the work and take the action, you will get results. And Barb has been a testament to that. She has been someone who just has taken the bull by the horns, and she's doing great things. So Barb, please introduce yourself to everybody. Tell us about you and your background and your business.
Thank you, Shar. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm excited to talk about my journey. I am a nurse, and I spent most of my career at Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio, where I grew up in Ohio. And I ended that career at the Cleveland Clinic doing an administrator position as the director of healing services and Code Lavender. So over the 10 years prior to that, I became a holistic nurse. So I went from staff nurse to holistic nurse. And in the middle and there, I was in accreditation. So I was scary nurse. And then when I left the Cleveland Clinic, one of my vendors picked me up. My aromatherapy instructor asked me to take over their school. And so for 5 years, I taught aromatherapy certification for natural options. And I was really just acting like an entrepreneur, but I had a paycheck. And so when that position ended and they closed their school this past June, I had zero notice. And I had already been thinking about all these things I want to do out in the world and in my community of holistic nurses and nurses in general. And I decided that I really needed to act on that. And so my business journey was, I already had a name. I had already been thinking about it. So my company is Integrated Success Solutions. And that is really with purpose. I thought about that name for a long time because I wanted it to be broad. I wanted it to be able to encompass whatever I decided to do. So I'm trained in many, many things. I'm trained as a holistic nurse coach. I'm trained as a holistic nurse. I'm board certified, and multiple modalities from aromatherapy to acupressure, healing touch, etc. And so I have a lot of skill set, and I wanted to apply that to something that I helped to pioneer, which was Code Lavender. And Code Lavender was holistic rapid response for emotional events, and it was all internal. I helped to help other nurses across the country with their building of their Code Lavender programs, but I wanted to bring that to hospitals as a program. So I have a school of aromatherapy. I have it's called the ADEPT program, Aromatherapy Development Education program and training. And that encompasses my TLC program, which is a holistic rapid response standardized training, along with consulting for leadership. So I had all these ideas and I didn't know what to do. I knew I could get my LLC. I knew I had to get accredited by NAHA for my school. And then I kind of hit the wall and said, uh-oh, I know I have customers, I can get in touch with people, but I really don't know what to do and how to build my business from square one as a solid foundation business. And so I spent about, I would say, one full week, like almost 40 hours, clicking on every single business coach I could find on the internet and letting them do what they call a discovery call. And I had multiple discovery calls. It was like a full-time job for a week. And when I met Shar, I know that from my past, I always wanted nurses to interact with nurses when it came to holistic support and training and things like that. Nurses, we tend to respond to each other very well. And that's exactly what happened with Shar. She was able to connect with me on a level as a nurse and understand where I'm coming from immediately without all these questions about, well, what's that? And, how did you provide that? And what is nursing's culture around that? She didn't have to, she didn't have to do that. We just automatically had a place to start from and move forward with. So I've really enjoyed that so far.
That's awesome. Thanks, Barb. I appreciate that kind remark. So I'm going to jump right in. So I started off this conversation by saying how great you're doing, and you are doing fantastic. But one of the things that people might find a little different for me is I'm not all about giving you quick fixes. This is truly about building a business, building a strong foundation from the ground up. And I tell my clients right off the bat, business is tough. There is it's not all rainbows and unicorns and, butterflies. So I would really love, we'd like to be transparent. Talk about some of your early challenges that you faced when you started building your business, and how did you overcome some of those challenges?
Sure. There are definitely challenges. I think the first thing to understand is that an entrepreneur mindset is very different than an employee mindset. And granted, I had a little bit of experience with that. I was kind of eased into it a little bit, but once the paycheck goes away, the stress level goes up because everything is dependent on you. And so when I was starting out, I did have some contacts, and I was able to kind of start having conversations with those contacts, but I didn't have an offer. I didn't have a a website. I didn't have an email that was professional. And so these were really technical things that make you look like a business that I had taken for granted for the company that I worked with. So if you compare that with when I left the hospital too, I mean, I had a whole community there. And so when you go out on your own as an entrepreneur, there are supports that you can build, but you need to think about that, think about your mindset. And if you're really in the entrepreneur space in yourself, you have to kind of think about that before it gets you, because it can get you. It can scare you out of doing the things that you want to do. It can lock you up. I had moments where I would just like sit on the couch all day and think, because I had to put everything together. And I would think, oh, because that's what we do, right? That's a wasted day. That was horrible. I should have been doing something. It didn't have, but it does help. It does help. So you have to plan your time accordingly and really figure out what your mindset is, because as nurses, we're the experts. We are treated like the senior nurse on our unit or our floor, or we're, the charge nurse, or maybe we're the manager, even above that. And so we're treated at this certain level. When you walk out of that environment into your own created environment, you're the one saying that. You're the one who's looking in the mirror and saying, I deserve abundance. I deserve to do this. I really need to learn. And in order to learn, you have to have a beginner's mindset, because you're not an entrepreneur yet. You are a budding entrepreneur. So you want to grow into that. And so you have to allow yourself to be a beginner. And the challenges are hard, being creative about how you spend your money. Shar was really integral to me figuring out the ways to take what I had in base funds to start my business, which is whatever I had here in the house or laying around or on a credit card, and really looking at what's the best use for those funds. I can tell you that, how we set up my electronic stuff, like my platforms. And before I ever got a website going, I talked to Shar about her recommendations on that. And, what does she use, or what does she recommend? And there are lots of good things that I never knew. I didn't know anything about platforms. I didn't know anything about getting a domain name. Those are simple, like those are the small things that turn into big things, but I had to start somewhere, because we do everything by Zoom, email, texting, social media. So you have to have somewhere to send someone to get information, whether that's a Google Doc or a website. There's a big difference between those. And it's really helpful to have someone to to work me through those things or walk me through those things that I had zero idea or knowledge about. And that was part of the reason why I went with Char's program, because she actually had from beginning steps on. So even though maybe I'm a little advanced at the sales part or, my content part, I didn't know anything about the foundation of the business part, where somebody else might come in and say, "Oh, I've had businesses before, but I just don't know how to make an offer." So she's got me covered wherever I'm at in my process. I can go in and say, okay, I have to, like she even said, skip these ones and go to that one because you have this customer to deal with. You can go right into that module and figure it out. But it can be challenging emotionally. It can be challenging, um, on a ego basis, I guess is the right way to say it. Identity. We were talking about identity earlier, and your identity doesn't have to change. Like, you're still a nurse, you're still an expert. And for me, what I've always talked about with even holistic nurses that are kind of like the lone wolves out there, they want to be coaches, they want to do things, and they start doing it for free at work. Well, you're already an influencer, you're already a leader. And so being an entrepreneur just puts a different hat on. It doesn't take all that other stuff away from you.
I like what you're saying. I find this a lot. Nurses often don't give ourselves the title of expert. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I talk to nurses from all walks of life. I would say most of them have 10, 20, 30 years experience. And I'll get on the phone with someone, and the first thing they'll ask me is, I got to go get my certification first. I'm like, dear Lord, person, you have 30 years experience. Why do you need another damn certification? No, you don't. So, but I think what it is this fear of like, we never think we know enough. We never think we're good enough. Our profession, this is an opinion, I do feel like our profession has done us a disservice by thinking we have to keep getting more letters to validate our expertise. And I just don't think that's true. I work with someone, and it's interesting. Our first call we had together, she's an LPN. 20 minutes into our call, I find out she's got a master's degree and a PhD in public health. And she's asking if she needs all this. I'm like, what? No, you've already spent enough money on education. I said, yeah, and you got, 20 something years experience. Absolutely not. Like, let's put that experience and those skills to work and stop. I think some people do that out of, again, we're trying to validate who we are. But quite frankly, I do also see it as a stall tactic for a lot of people. It's I'm not good enough. I got to do more before I can get started. And I'm here to tell you, and I think Barb would tell you too, no, just get started. You've already got enough. Like, let's take it. And most people just don't know how to take those skills and monetize them and create something, a business out of them.
Yeah, I agree. I really sat on this for a couple of years. When COVID first started and I was working from home for the first time, before that, but I wasn't in a hospital anymore. I didn't have my people anymore. I didn't have my environment, and I was watching the hospital news and Facebook pages. It was horrifying what nurses were going through, and felt helpless. I said, I need to help. I want to help. How do I do this? And so I started looking at coaching programs because I thought I needed to finish my holistic nurse coaching certification.
Yeah.
And it really slowed me down because I was talking with people about coaching and going, I already know that. Like, I just wouldn't pull the trigger because I thought that it would be a conflict with my current employer. And that was a huge mistake. If I regret very little in my life, but if I could go back and kind of replay that at the time, I would say, well, no, I mean, they don't do coaching, so why couldn't I do that? And so I'm a very loyal employee when it comes to being an employee, to the point of detriment to myself.
Yep.
And I think nurses do that a lot. I think we become loyal. Well, you have like two sides. You have the nurses who say, oh yeah, this place is great. Ha ha. And then you have the other nurses say, I love where I work. And I always loved where I work so much that I would put 100% into them and leave my stuff behind. And this is where you have to be able to reverse that.
Yeah.
Say, I'm first and I'm not selfish and I deserve this. And the best way for me was to have guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's pivot. So we talked about some of the negative stuff. I want you to share one of your biggest wins or achievements you've achieved. And I'm here to say Barb has had many, and she probably wouldn't even, I think, even consider them wins where I do. But what's your favorite? What's one of your big wins, and what are you proud of?
Well, first of all, Char was like, I would tell her something, and then I go on to what else I had to do, and she's like, wait a minute. Do you even know that's a win? Because that's it's a different way to think.
Yeah.
We go through tasks, we have our tasks that we have to do. And so it's like, okay, yeah, I got paid. And oh yeah, and then I have to do this. And she's like, wait, go back. So I think for me, the big wins are that I was able to cultivate leads that I had contact with and turn them into contracts. And that between that and being able to actually get paid, because I had to learn how to do the technical piece of getting paid. It's not as simple as you think, as like swiping a card. It's a little more complex. And that's kind of the point, is everything has steps that you don't know about yet, usually. And so big wins, I was able to continue to teach aromatherapy because I was able to get accredited by the accrediting body pretty quickly. And that was a huge win for me, because without that and without my government vendorship, which was another big win, I would not have been able to make the money that I've made so far. And so really just kind of buckling down and saying, I'm going to figure out how to get it done as soon as possible, and really building a relationship with the people who helped me. So Shar was there as, the driver. I actually got in touch with the accrediting body and personally said, who my old teacher was that had passed away. They knew him. I was able to negotiate some terms because of them not wanting to lose another school. They were able to figure out anything that I was missing. They helped me kind of fill in the gaps. And so if I wouldn't have reached out and been totally transparent with them, they would not have done that. And it would have just been, who are you? So I think utilizing my skills that I already had to be able to build relationships, and as Shar says, I'm really not afraid of anything. Excuse me. I think that's one of the big things, is being fearless in your own space. And so I'm trying to think of how many classes I've had since we started.
I've got a couple.
Well, I just had 2, so probably about 5. Probably about 5 full enough classes to keep me going. I'm still working on the profitability piece, but it's all startup costs. It's all stuff that's going to come back to me. And that's the way you have to think about it. When you're doing this, is I'm investing in myself. And that was part of the coaching, but it's also part of all the other things. So the big wins are really there. But like Char told me, you really have to stop and pause and celebrate your wins, or you just kind of stay on the treadmill,
Yeah, absolutely. I liked what you said just about, well, first of all, I want to go back a little bit. Where do I want to start here? Okay, so my thought process is this. So when we talk about business strategies, one of the things, and why I like Barb's strategy is very different than like any of my other clients that I work with. Oftentimes when you're going to be online, you guys are going to see different coaches and stuff out there. They might have these one size fits all strategies. And what we did, we really want to lean into, and with Barb, she had this amazing network of people, like huge, I call it her Rolodex. And she had so many people. And so she had to lean into reaching out to that network. And so her primary strategy is really this referral network marketing kind of based strategy. It's not social media. Like Barb's barely on social media. Barb has a beautiful website. I do 1000% believe every business needs a website, and that you're going to hear other people tell you all day long that's not true. I don't believe that. Not with social. If you do everything on social and you lose the social media platforms, you lose your business. So you need something to call your own. But I digress a little bit. But anyway, so that's her strategy, her network. She mentioned the word fear. Here's the thing about fear. Be fearful and do it anyway. You have to do things, you have to be okay with getting uncomfortable. And then the more you do it, the more comfortable you will get. I'm going to be tell you guys one of my things. I don't love doing video. I'm always afraid I don't look like I'm speaking articulately, I think, but I do it anyway. And every time I do it, I get better and more comfortable. And Barb, I think I would say we all have a little bit of fear. We all have a little bit of fear of failure. Sometimes we have a fear of success. I've had people tell me, well, what if this goes big? What am I going to do? So it's really interesting, fear in general. Where I see it happen a lot too. You talked about some days like we get analysis paralysis or we just get overwhelmed, and then I see procrastination come in. It's that fear. So another, thing I help clients with is, when they get into that fear and the procrastination, we want you to just keep taking action. Do it anyway. Feel the fear and move on. But Barb's been like I said, kind of a model student with that. I would say, Barb, you're pretty fearless, but you have a lot of experience, I suppose. You're very comfortable with public speaking and talking to people. Communication is a great thing for everybody. But I also, like I said, she is a good example of her strategy. You don't have to necessarily be on social media to, make your business work, because a lot of people don't enjoy that. So
I agree. I think that you have to remember when you leave a corporate setting, any corporate setting, you become whoever you want to be. So a lot of nurses say, well, I'm just a nurse. And that's a really common saying. Well, no, now you're the CEO.
Yep.
And so if you can do that, you will make your life a lot easier, because you don't have anyone to answer to but yourself. I mean, granted, my school's accredited, so I follow a certain standard of education, that piece of it, but the rest of it is me. And so when people say, well, what do? You have to practice that. No matter what you do, you have to practice talking to yourself in the mirror, on video, whatever you do to get more confident in how do I explain what I do, even if I'm not doing it yet. Just make it up, make it up, because you could just say, oh, I'm a nurse entrepreneur and this is what I'm working on. You don't have to have it all together to believe it, because if you believe it, they're going to believe it. And so that's, when I first became a holistic nurse in a big giant hospital that was, under the microscope, I remember one day I was in the elevator and I had my little purple bag and I had my white jacket and I was going to see patients to do like aromatherapy and relaxation stuff. And some visitor looked at me and she goes, you look like you won the job lottery. And I said, I did win the job lottery. And that's how you want to be every time you go out of your house, every time you interact with people. This morning I had a meeting with a nurse who's running a holistic program in her hospital, which I started in 2010. And these nurses are just being able to start doing it. And I said, well, tell me about what you do. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's wonderful. Like I thought I was the weirdo and nobody would ever believe this stuff back in 2010. So to see it coming to fruition as a normal or mandatory thing in healthcare really makes me happy, because I know that I was part of that. Yeah. And so no matter what you do in nursing and you bring out of nursing into your entrepreneurship, you're part of that. You help create that.
I think a big reason, so why I've gotten into what I'm doing is, how do I want to change healthcare? Because I'm still a nurse. I'm a business coach, but I'm a nurse. And why I'm doing what I do is because I want to help nurses like Barb, like you guys out there. I want you guys to change healthcare at its core. We all know the system's broken. The system is so fucked up, guys. I want to change it at its core. And how we're going to do that is because nurses have, what do we joke about at the lunch table? We're like, we could solve all the problems if they just listen to us. Like, we all have these great, innovative, forward-thinking thoughts on how to change healthcare, how to provide better care, how to do things differently to get patients actual real results, not just this constant, where people are we're not really ever healing people. We're not preventing anything. It's just this, our system is set up in a way that we're just never moving anything forward. So I love working with people like Barb and all the different nurses we work with. And that's something special that, you know, nurses often think I'm just a nurse. Oh, please don't say that. You're not just a nurse. Every nurse is special. You all have such a wide variety of skills and expertise. On top of that, you have personal life experiences that kind of mix with all of that, that are going to make you special and have solutions to people's problems. And that's really what business is about. It's like, what are we here to do? We're here to solve problems for people. I don't care if you are, you know, a consultant solving a problem, or if you're a medi-spa person and you're still solving a problem. Someone's got some wrinkles and they want them gone. That's solving a problem. You're making someone's life better in some way, shape, or form. So I just want nurses to really consider, because they often think so inside the box because we're very clinically focused. Oh, well, what can I do? Everyone thinks that. No, think broader, think bigger. And I think Barb's a great example of what she's doing with her work and taking her holistic background and really just expanding it and doing great things out there. So yeah, I get on a soapbox about that every now and then. But Barb, tell us a little bit about, like, I guess, what have been some of the strategies or techniques that you've implemented that have had the biggest impact on your business?
I think strategy wise, I had to really niche down to who do I want to have as my customer, because I came in with like 85 ideas.
Yeah.
And literally I could do all of them, but you can't do them all at once. And
Yes.
so for me, it was really allowing the things that I can do and that will produce become first, even though they may not be my biggest inspiration. And so I had to kind of rearrange how I thought about them and say, you know, I'm a real expert at the school and the classes and aromatherapy and policy and things like that. So I need to put that first, even though I have all this other stuff I really want to do over here. Even my website developer was like overwhelmed with all my stuff. I had to like meet with her and talk with her and kind of break it down because there was too much. And so one strategy is stay organized and focused on what will bring in what you need right now. Basically, it isn't exactly what you can control, but it is what you have the most influence over. And so even there are days when I veer off and say, oh, I need to write this book or I need to write this thing. I always have to come back to center and say, this is a strategy, and work the steps and do the work on this strategy so that you can grow that strategy. So that's been hard for me because of however my brain works. It's just, I have a lot going on. And then really, I think another strategy is planning out things I've been good and bad at, planning out where you're going to spend your money and why. Because some people will say, like, I can't afford this coach. Let's say I did that. Oh, I can't afford that. So I had to figure out what I was investing in and how that was going to help me. Because if I do that, then it's not a cost. It's not costing me anything. It's investing. And so I had to change my mindset around that and have a strategy of, this is what I can afford to do, and this is what I can't afford not to do.
Yeah.
And that's really important. And that's also, you know, part of your offer. You know, when you're talking about whatever it is that you're going to offer, you know, that's the mindset that I go in there with, is I want to assess as much as I possibly can about the person I'm talking to and be interested in them and curious with them until I can figure out what they can't afford not to do. What is it that they really need, even though I want to sell them 5 other things. I got to figure out what they really need and can't walk away from me for. And that's a strategy I never had before, because, you know, we're nurses. We're going to help everybody with everything.
Yes.
And I'm really good at giving stuff away. So, you know,
Yes.
I had to figure out the last strategy I would say has been very, very helpful is switching gears to figuring out what my value is, because that's a hard one. I know I'm really experienced. I know I have a very unique background, and I was very privileged to do all the things I did. But I had to think about, well, what value is that to someone? because we're used to time clocks and hours.
Mhm.
You know, like, how many hours should I charge for this education module? Well, that's not how it works.
Mhm.
We are value. And so that's totally different. And when you set up a strategy where you can kind of align with your value and have a plan for your foundation, you know, how to build everything, then all the other stuff kind of just happens.
Yeah, that you couldn't have said that more perfectly. The couple things I'm going to point out that or pull out of that focus, focus, focus. The one thing, I will say when I met Barb, Barb came in and she like vomited like 9,000 ideas at me, and I'm like, oh, girl. I said these are great, but so Barb actually I love, she has a whiteboard and we have a strat, like we have created a plan and she has created a plan. And I said, you can do all of it, just not all at the same time. We have to focus you. And we need to, first of all, start. I would always recommend to people what's going to get, like Barb mentioned, like we got to generate some revenue because business costs money. Let me repeat that, people. Businesses cost money. Businesses are not debt, business are investment. There is a difference. There's a, the Dave Ramsey's of the world. Everyone teaches you, oh, you don't want to have debt, don't want to have debt. Well, this is different. When you are investing in a business and you're putting money into a business, you are going to be making money, right? But you can't make money if you don't spend money. You need to spend money on the things that are going to help you make money. Like Barb said, maybe it's literally skills, like business skills. It's also, I think the biggest challenge for people, they don't know what they don't know. If you don't know something, that's usually where we make our biggest mistakes, waste a bunch of time, waste a bunch of money. So we want to really, again, kind of focus people in on what's important at the beginning. My whole strategy is about like simple solutions that work. Let's like not worry about some complicated craziness over here or spending $10,000 on a website that you don't need yet, when we can like start small, focus you, let's work on this, and then we get a little money. Now we can do greater things, and we can kind of keep working up. So what Barb's doing is she has lots of fantastic ideas and she's staging them. So I call them phases. We're going to do phase one once we master that, and she's got that kind of rolling and it's like on autopilot. Then we're going to move on to phase two. So it's okay to have a lot of ideas, but we really do have to focus, because if you're doing everything, you're doing nothing. If you're spreading yourself too thin, your marketing message is going to be diluted. The niching down, I can't stress enough, is so important. Knowing who your ideal client is, and yeah. So thanks for sharing all that. I do appreciate it. Well, I know we're coming up on time here, so I just kind of want to wrap it up a little bit. And first, I just want to ask you, what are you looking forward to in your business? Like, what's one of your future goals or aspirations for your business right now?
For my business, I want to be able to get it out in front of more people. I think that, I have some really good networks. And so my strategy now is to figure out a way to push that out all at once to my network. So I'm working on that with Shar, like, how to put together my CRM and how to send out massive amounts of information to people just to say, hey, here I am. And that will generate all the other things that I want. So it's really about branding myself and introducing my business as a valid business in the places where it needs to be. So next up, I think, is really going to be, I already have one kind of speaking thing that I'm going to be doing, and looking for more opportunities to do that, whether it be lunch and learns or whatever I can do locally where I am, just to get out there and practice, getting my face in front of people and letting them know I'm here to help.
And Barb's a really great speaker. So if anyone's looking for that, I want to give Barb the opportunity. Tell us about your businesses, tell us where we can find you, and tell us your offers. So I'd like to, yeah, go for it.
Sure. So my business is Integrated Success Solutions. And with that, I have a program called the ADEPT program for my School of Aromatherapy and Holistic Rapid Response. In addition to that, I offer consultative services for leadership, team building, and stress management in the workspace. And so there is a lot that I can offer any institution, hospital, or corporation to help them with their health and wellness, stress management, burnout, and I guess retention is the word
Mhm.
I was looking for. Currently, I am scheduling out aromatherapy classes for aromatherapy certification. And for nurses, soon I will have continuing education credits for nurses as well, because we're in a renewal year. And so it's a great way to get your CEs for your RN, along with learning a new skill and getting another credential. But for things like aromatherapy and other holistic modalities, you probably need some kind of training certificate at minimum to get validation for that, because it's still coming into healthcare slowly but steadily. Oops, sorry. And as far as other offers, I'm looking at offering a ambassador program. And so for my business, since I have such a big network, I'm looking at creating an ambassador program where I have nurses throughout the country who maybe are interested in getting certified, or they're just interested in making a little side cash. And if they refer clients to me that pay in full, then I give them either a cash back, a credit for class, or products, aromatherapy products. So that's something that's up and coming. I'll be rolling out at the first of the year, along with some destination classes. So if you're tired of doing Zoom, or tired of, doing everything online, I'm going to have some classes coming up in destinations like Las Vegas and Florida and North Carolina.
That sounds good to me. I'd like to be somewhere warm, living in Minnesota right now.
Yeah. Well, I will be in Minnesota in June, the first week of June, at the Holistic Nurse
That's right.
Annual Conference. And I will be doing a pre-conference presentation. It's a half-day class on setting up your aromatherapy program in hospital settings. And so
Awesome.
that's something else I do consultatively. My website is integrated-success-solutions.com. And you can certainly email or call me. It's Barb at integrated-success-solutions.com. And my phone number is 440-655-4687. And you can find me on WhatsApp and Facebook and LinkedIn. If you want to look at my resume, just look at LinkedIn.
Awesome. And I'm going to put all of Barb's links in the comments below this video, so that anybody who's interested in learning more about what she's doing, or would like to take one of her classes or get more information, you'll have the availability to do that.
Yeah, and lastly, I am a holistic coach. And so one of the things that I noticed in my journey as well is I needed help clearing some of my blocks, some of my things that I wasn't sure if I was consciously doing it or unconsciously doing it. And so I'm definitely available for coaching calls as well. I'm all about helping other nurses. And so it can be part of my business. It can be a conversation about possibly doing coaching together. But I definitely would like to help you if you're not sure what direction you're going, why you can't get over the hump, or anything along those lines. You just don't know what to do at this point.
Perfect. I say coaches need coaches, guys. And especially any of you interested in going into coaching and consulting, you really need to experience what working with a coach is like, so that you can be a better coach yourself. So I'm a big believer. So Barb, thanks for joining me today. I really hope that the people and nurses out there will find this valuable, so they can get a little understanding about like just some of the different things nurses can do for businesses. And like I said, Barb's been a rock star. It has been an absolute pure pleasure to work with you. It's just great. I talked to so many great nurses, so smart and so much to offer. And we want to, let's take our skills and experiences and let's use them in different ways, guys. And I'm excited to help anybody who is interested in learning more about that. You can always contact me through a DM or an email, or just give me a ring. But Barb, again, thank you. Absolute pleasure talking to you today. And I look forward to seeing you soon in the future.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.